Thanks for stopping in at the Down the Road Show podcast, brought to you by Murdoch Worldwide Entertainment on the Down the Road Show YouTube channel and Chronicles of Comic Con channel. You're also listening to the audio podcast wherever it is available. We are sponsored by Everyday Natural Products. They make some of my favorite CBD products on the market and some other great all-natural health remedies for your brain and your immune system. Check them out at enpstore.com for more information. And when you're checking out, they're now giving our listeners and followers 20% discount by using the promo code Down the Road. So make sure you get over there and check that out and try it for yourself to see how it can work for you. I know I just took some CBD drops to kind of loosen things up because I've been doing a lot of podcasting lately and I'm in a lot of pain. And this podcast is a special one to me because I got friends on it and it's a Clerks podcast. So first we're going to talk to Marilyn Ghigliotti, then we're going to talk to Scott Schiaffo, and then we're going to wrap things up with Brian O'Halloran. Let's get things started.
All right, I am excited to bring in my next guest. Marilyn Ghigliotti and I have been friends in the con circuit for a while. I've interviewed her a number of times, and I was so ecstatic to find out that Kevin Smith announced Clerks 3. So I can't wait to see how Veronica's story gets wrapped up in this third segment. So welcome to Down the Road Show, Marilyn. How are you doing today?
Hi, thank you. Always a pleasure to be on your show.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you like always. So let's remind everybody about your character from the cult classic Clerks.
So I play Veronica. I play the current girlfriend to Dante, who then shows me that he still has feelings for the ex, even after everything that I do for him.
Ungrateful.
But yeah, you know, and obviously as many have actually, funny thing is that there are people out there that have seen Clerks 2 but not have seen the original. So I find that
is interesting.
Very interesting. That why wouldn't you go back to see the backstory?
Yeah, because I love the backstory. I love the middle, but I'm a bookend person. Give me the full arc, and that's why I'm excited for the third version. Is like, give me that arc between Dante and Veronica. What happened after that? Because
Yeah.
I mean, because you weren't in the second one.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you know, and that's unfortunate, but you know, what are you gonna do?
Yeah. So when you're filming Clerks, and it's just guerrilla filmmaking at its best, I mean, do you guys have any idea while you're that young and you're on set that this is going to become a cult classic and it's going to completely launch Kevin Smith's career?
No, I mean, even today, I don't think anybody can really know what's going to happen with what it is that they're doing. You know, they can have high hopes for it and expectations, but you know, you can't know if those expectations will be met. I think it's a little bit easier now to try to really take it to as far as you can. But I mean, back then, for me, it was my first film. So it was just taking what I've been learning on the stage to the next level and see how far I can take it in that respect. So I was just excited to get to do the work. And then, you know, as things started happening and that little snowball effect.
If you haven't seen Clerks, you missed that joke.
You know, it was a nice little ride. I mean, to some degree, it's still a little ride, you know.
Absolutely. And so I mean, you haven't read the script. You don't know what's coming, but what do you hope for Veronica in the end?
Well, and to be honest, I don't believe that there is a script yet, or if there is, it's only partially written, because I know he's working on Mallrats 2 as well script.
Which is exciting news.
And Kevin is also working on the He-Man animation, as well as some other projects that he has going on, as well as finishing up the reboot road tour. So he's got a lot of eggs in baskets right now. But honestly, as to what I hope would happen with the character of Veronica, I'm just happy to be in it. So I don't care right now. and the only thing that I am in the mindset of is, and this was posed to me the other day, because Clerks 3 was supposed to happen before and then it didn't. So I'm trying to be in the mindset of as is, or there's a word for it, but being in the moment as if it's actually happening.
Right, being present.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Not thinking too much ahead of what is going to happen, or thinking too much of the past, but just being in the moment and enjoying being there on set with your friends again.
Exactly, and which I got to do when did that little guest appearance for Reboot. I loved it. Just to be there with everybody, as well as for the simple fact that at that time my dad was having some health issues and I didn't know what was going to happen. And so it was just really lovely. Well, I don't want to.
So yeah, a little family reunion, kind of like every time you guys are at a convention together.
Well, no, I mean, it's just I had family there. They weren't blood family, but they were family to me that was there to support me when I really needed support.
Yeah, the family you choose.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, your soul tribe. Your soul tribe. I always love that term.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what's great is, so now you get to reunite with that family again for Clerks 3 and utilize everything you've learned since then as an actor.
Yeah, definitely.
So what do you think you bring to Veronica new to the table now as a more seasoned veteran actor?
Oh, a bit more experience, that's for sure. And knowing what it is that there's no guesswork, and it's like I've always said when I've been interviewed about how it was when we did Clerks, and I one thing that I would always say is, like, we were all in the same boat together. All were experiencing this for the first time, didn't know what we were doing, and so now it's totally the opposite. So we know going in what to expect, what's expected of us, what we should be doing, and so it should be almost a well-oiled machine.
Right. It should just come natural. Yeah. Yeah. Because you guys already have that built-in chemistry, whereas in so many shows or movies, they don't find their chemistry till the end and then they're kind of done. So yeah, it'll be nice to get back to that chemistry. All right. Well, then, speaking of, like, the canon of Kevin Smith and the fact that he's going to do a Mallrats 2, Mallrats was always in the top echelon of my Kevin Smith movies, but my favorite, Chasing Amy, has the most heart and the most storyline that was ahead of its time back in the day. What's some favorite Kevin Smith storylines or movie moments for you?
I don't know that I can get that specific, but definitely Chasing Amy is one of my favorites as well as Jersey Girl.
Oh yeah, Jersey Girl was way underrated. Very good movie.
Yeah. But for me, it's like, I am a fan of Kevin as well, because of what he's been able to develop and do, and just keep going as well.
He's the continuous underdog story.
Yeah, I mean, so many people have so much to say, but if you can at least achieve a percentage of what it is that he's been able to achieve, you can talk away all you want, but unless you have or haven't or whatever, you can't, you have nowhere to talk. I wish, I mean, and maybe it's just luck. I don't know, that he's been able to, keep it going for himself. I just wish I had, I mean, I don't consider myself stupid in any way, but I know that I definitely need some capacity of know-how to so that I'm still not where I'm at and that I'm further along than where I want to be.
Right. He is.
If any of that makes any sense.
Yes, he's had a career, a storybook career that he has navigated wonderfully and gone completely against all the naysayers and haters out there before his work and after his work, and he's just happy to create. And
yeah,
may we all be that lucky and fortunate, is what you're saying.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, then, what other projects do you got coming up that you can talk about that you want to promote?
Um, I'm trying to think.
Well, that's the hard part. It's like, I understand I've signed enough NDAs and I've been not on enough projects that have never seen the light of day that I'm never allowed to talk about. So,
well, and here's the thing though, because it's like I came to a point where it's like, you know, that's there, it's in development, it's like nothing's happening, so it's like I forget about it. And until it's actually on the move, I just don't even think about it. So then you try, and like I said, I forget about it. So I never remember what it is that's kind of going on the back burner anymore.
until the marketing team hits you up and it's like, hey, it's time to market this project.
Yeah, I mean, so right now, basically, it's, you know, waiting to see what's going to happen with Clerks 3. I've got a few conventions going on this year, and one of them is in 2 weeks, as a matter of fact.
Nope, because Corona canceled con season.
And then now, as far as like film projects or whatever, I'm a lot of people, a lot of fans out there donated to a film group that we did some shorts, and you know we've kind of come to a stalled area because unfortunately we didn't really have a lot of money to do 8 short films that we wanted, and we shot 3, but we're still short as far as having money to edit.
That post-production gets expensive.
Yeah. So I've kind of taken on the one that I directed myself and trying to see how I can hopefully find help to edit it, maybe even take on a little bit of that editing myself, but I still need help with the color correction and the sound, and I've had a few people mention to give me music, so you know, we'll see. It's like I'm hoping that I can get that done, but you know,
Right.
it's a whole learning process and learning curve as far as, you know, when you've got so many people in the kitchen,
Right.
cooks in the kitchen kind of a thing. So yeah.
Somebody's gonna get burned. Yeah.
Well, and it's, but you know, as easy as it is to create your own content nowadays, it still costs money. No matter how little that money is, it still costs money, and if you don't have it, it's hard to get it done.
Yeah, absolutely. And once again, because you know, people lie about their budgets, and it's easy to misjudge your budget and whatnot too. But the fact that now that I know that this is an episode that you directed, my friend, I can't wait to see it. And in order to see it, it's got to get done. So I'm about to send you a couple Facebook friends that I think might be able to help you with that.
Okay.
Yeah, I figured you wouldn't mind. But anyway, it is always a pleasure catching up with you. I love you so much. You're such a sweet friend.
I hope you're well.
I'm day by day. I'm on all kinds of waiting lists with different doctors. Saw a psychologist yesterday. I'm brain dead from all those tests. Got an ear test today to knock that out of the way to make sure I'm not going deaf, which I'm not. So luckily got bumped up from all the way in March to next week on Tuesday to
Excellent.
deal with that ENT instead of the other ENT to rule out ear throws a note on what could possibly be causing my vertigo and making me dizzy before next month meeting my neurosurgeon for my neck for the first time. So yes, things have improved all of a sudden today, like literally today.
Good.
So yes, your love and asking is very much appreciated.
Thank you.
And I'm glad you're doing good, and can't wait to see everything you do in the future here. And I'm about to shoot you over some Facebook suggestions, especially for someone I think is probably the best color correction person I've ever seen.
Okay.
Yeah. You'll love him. And he was also a guest on this podcast.
Okay.
So thanks for being on Down the Road Show. We're going to
Thank
see if we
you.
can help you realize that dream and finish that editing, so that way everybody out there online can check it out. Follow Marilyn Ghigliotti on all of her social media. And if you're an editor or color corrector, or you have experience in production and you want to get involved, hit her up.
Thank you.
All right. Love you, girl. We'll talk later. We'll see you
I
down the
love
road.
you. All right, bye.
All right, everybody. Welcoming in my next guest. I'm excited to have him on Down the Road Show today. Scott Shafo. You're going to know him from Clerks. He's the gum guy. Trying to get everybody to quit smoking cigarettes. How you doing today, Scott?
I'm doing great. How are you, man?
I'm doing great. It's a pleasure to have you on the show. Thanks. It's been difficult connecting with you, and I'm just so thrilled to have you on today.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
So let's remind everybody, for those who have seen Clerks, but especially for those who have not seen Clerks, who you play.
I am the Chuli's Gum representative, or in the script, he was actually called the Activist. But over the years, everybody has come to know him as the Chuli's Gum guy. And I'm pretty sure on the IMDb, it's the Chuli's Gum representative. But in the actual script, it was called the Activist, that character.
I never knew that. That's cool.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, I tell you, it was a real privilege and an honor to be cast in that role because, first of all, I was aspiring to be a character actor. I mean, certainly I've played leads in smaller independent films, and if I got a lead role, so be it. But I was shooting more for character actor, you know, the supporting guy or whatever. And in Clerks, that if you didn't get one of the leads, that role was the role to get because it really stood out, especially the way it was written. You know, it was supposed to stand out.
Yeah, Activist actually makes more sense now too, and plus, like, you're in like a bunch of different cut together scenes, and you got a lot of dialogue, but it's just very it's animated.
Yeah, that's what, you know, it's another thing too. Kevin was well aware, even as early as that was, and, you know, to say that we were all green, but he knew within the first 5 to 10 minutes, you got to give them something to get an idea of what they're about to see, to give them a taste of what the ride is like. If you don't pull them in within the first 5 to 8 minutes, you could lose them in a sense, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
exactly. Like, in fact, that aside from the hockey game on the roof, obviously, and the funeral scene, the Chuli's Gum scene has probably the most actual like action.
Yeah,
just talking.
Yeah. And more characters come in and out too.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean, so let's fast forward to Clerks 3. Where do you think the Chuli's guy is? Where is your character now? What's he doing with his life?
Oh my God. It was funny. Over the years at the conventions and whatnot, this question does come up, and I cannot for the life of me imagine. I would get the impression that he might have been somewhat of not a drifter, but certainly
a grifter.
Yeah, exactly. And probably on to whatever the next. That guy could be in jail for all we know, really. You know, I mean.
If he's not a used car salesman or a lobbyist at the center.
Right. I mean, he's definitely duplicitous. I always thought it was funny too that, you know, you think that he's really concerned about people's health, and it's really just about the gum. It's so ironic. He could care less if you really smoke, as long as you chew the gum. You could smoke and chew the gum, you know, just
right.
chew the gum.
He'd sell you tobacco flavored gum if it existed back then.
Right. And of course, over the years, the fans always make jokes about how he's probably selling vaping now or whatever.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. So what are the fans like? Because you do a lot of conventions, and that's like a big family reunion with the other actors.
Yeah, no, the Kevin Smith fans are, you know, they're really amazing. I have absolutely, in the 15 or 20 or so years, really the convention culture for me, I didn't really dive in until maybe the last 10 to 15 years tops, doing them, last 10 years more so. But in all that time, I can honestly say there has never been anybody who was anything other than sweet, warm, down to earth, excited about the movies, just love talking about, you know, all things Kevin, because all the films, most of the films anyway, sort of interconnect. So
yeah. Has that? It's a Kevin Smith universe.
Exactly, and and even with Vulgar, which is a really crazy film. I don't know if you're aware of that one. That's another one I did with Kevin's produced it. It's Bryan Johnson's movie. Bryan Johnson wrote and directed it. Brian O'Halloran's the lead in that as well. I play another really not a very nice guy. I play a wife beater, basically. But even that film, as dark and weird as it is, gets a tremendous amount of love out in the convention world.
Right. And I've been meaning to actually catch that one yet, so I'm going to go try and find that. Is there anywhere, like, is that on Hulu or Netflix? You know where an easy place to find that is?
That's a good question. I know it's floating on, and it's floated on and off of Netflix, I believe, a few times. I don't know about Hulu. And there's two versions. There's actually an R-rated and then an unrated. And the unrated is about maybe, I don't know, 8 to 10 minutes longer. It's dark. I mean, what's interesting about it is it's dark subject matter, but as a film, as an indie film, a lot of people feel like it's a very, I know, of course, I'm a fan of it. I was a part of it, but it's a very strong indie film. Like, it's very shot well. There's a lot of really fine performances. Again, I'm not just saying that because I got to be a part of it.
Right, right.
You know, Brian O'Halloran really does a very, very bold job because of the subject matter. He's got to go to a lot of really unpleasant, dark places. You know, it's a very strange one, but definitely the DVD is probably available on Amazon. But you got to watch, and it's not a big deal if you don't get the unrated. But the unrated is like the full uncut version Bryan Johnson intended. The rated has maybe about 8 or so minutes cut out. It's mostly bizarre dialogue that's cut out. No graphic visual action.
Okay. Well, I'm a dialogue person, so I'll be definitely looking for the unrated version myself.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Kevin Smith universe, do you have like a favorite scene, dialogue, or movie yourself?
Oh, man.
I know that's a tough one.
No, it's hard because, you know, of course I'm partial, but at the same time, I really do enjoy just about everything he's done. I was a big fan of Red State, and that's not really part of the View Askew universe set of films. It's its own entity, but I thought I was very excited when I saw it because I felt he had reinvented himself in a way I thought he had been trying to over the years, or attempting to break out of the one mold and go and see if he could tackle maybe a different genre. And I thought he did that really well with Red State. Now, I know a lot of people are critical of it, and maybe it's flawed in certain ways, but as a no holds barred kind of, you know, it's like a punch in the face drama, and it's very fast, like it's boom, and before you know it hit you, you know.
Oh, awesome! That's the kind of stuff I love, though.
Yeah, it's definitely one of my favorites outside of the View Askew universe, but it's hard, man. I mean, I'm a big Brody fan. Who doesn't love Jason Lee?
Right.
I remember when
he just eats up scenes.
Yeah, and you know, he came out of nowhere for most of us. Nobody really knew much about him, especially on the East Coast. If you weren't a skateboard person, you didn't know him. And I remember at the time, you know, the theatrical release, it didn't go over well, and it looked kind of a little shaky for Kevin at that point, because you're going back to a time which was pre-internet, pre-cell phones, pre-social network. It was theatrical release and then home video. And if the theatrical release didn't do all that great, or if it got critically panned, sometimes it took a while for the home audience to find it. But at the time, people were concerned, and I was so shocked because I felt he did such a fine job with it. You know, like I think it's that sophomore jinx, or, you know, that they're looking to kind of really maybe cut you down, because he got two years of endless praise for Clerks. And then Mallrats came out, and I don't know, they seem to have been very unfair to it at the time. Of course, since it's you know, loved by the View Askew universe and
right. And I can understand that. I mean, because, like, you know, I'm 45 now, and I was I was a younger man when that came out, and like just the scene with him and Stan Lee still speaks to me. It makes me laugh because that's the kind of stupid stuff us guys think about.
Right, exactly. Yeah, Brody's lines and his delivery was just like, I felt like we were getting the Generation X Bill Murray.
Yes, yes.
And
And I was bummed when they canceled My Name Is Earl. I'm not gonna lie.
I was a big fan of that too. Yeah.
Yeah, that was just a fun show, well written, well edited. I mean, just especially for like the idea behind that show and being a half-an-hour comedy, it worked really well.
Yeah, it was really a clever premise, and he was wonderful in it, as everybody in it. Ethan Suplee and so many people were very what's the word I want?
Well, they all gave powerful character actor performances, especially like Jamie Presley. I had the chance to run into her a couple of years ago in Laguna Beach and told her that, and she was just so happy to hear that because that was a project of love for everyone on there. And that's what it feels like every time I talk to anyone who's been a part of a Kevin Smith movie and part of the View Askew universe is it is a project of love.
Oh yeah, I mean Kevin is on the set. It's all about having fun and creativity, and it's not all fun and games. Of course, it's serious,
right.
But he's so open to the process, and he loves actors, and I hear now he's a little more open to some scenes and some characters being able to improvise a little bit and work with the dialogue, but he's pretty set to his dialogue, and I can't blame him because writing is so important to him, and he has such a great ear, and he's so sharp with the writing. He really sticks to that,
Yeah, and all of his characters speak like everyday characters, and that's the thing is you can be funny and humorous and dive deep into actual life and the darkness. And especially like, it makes me wonder, he's gone through all that health scare and he's lost all that weight, and it's a different perspective on life now as a writer. And I know with everything going on with me and my health in the last few years, and you've also had your own issues with health, sir, how much has that changed the way you dive into a character?
Wow. Well, like you said, I think ultimately I had a lot of people go through a midlife crisis, and mine was kind of primarily health related, as well as that created financial difficulty because I was really like a full-time heart patient from 2006 till around 2010 before I really got stable. 2012, I finally became quite stable. So it's like a 6-year run of procedures every 3 to 6 months and different medicines. And, I got hardware, I got the ICD going, and it was scary because in the beginning, my heart was very damaged. I had a very abusive lifestyle for a lot of years. I mean, I had a good, almost close to 2 decades of extreme alcohol and drug abuse. So
I get it right there. Yeah.
Underlyingly, there was a congenital problem already. When you have arrhythmia and you binge drink, you're basically guaranteed to have atrial fibrillation and arrhythmia because binge drinking really promotes arrhythmia. And I was a horrific binge drinker. But as far as how that factors into how I approach things now, that's a good question because I don't think it's conscious anymore now that I'm beyond that point. But one thing about the craft of acting is you bring your life to every character, even if your life experiences have very little to do with the character's experiences.
Right.
You find ways and means, so to speak, to work that into the character. If the character has to be forlorn or sad regarding something, I might be thinking of something personal that gets me there, and then I could be in that place. But I can't honestly say there's a connection between, at least not, I think during the time, I said what's different between what happened to Kevin and with myself is mine was so profound for so many years. You know, that 4 or 5 year chunk, there was no acting. There was just full-time heart patient.
Right, and that takes a heavy mental toll too.
Right. So when I was coming back to just about everything. I was like getting back to a life no longer being a heart patient. Kevin, I think he had the good fortune of having a horrible scare. And within a few weeks, he was back to kind of being Kevin.
Yeah.
And he was able to really, you know, and, you know, that zest for life, and that you could see it in the reboot, obviously.
Right,
You know,
right.
it's really all about, it's a love letter to the fans and to all those characters.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Yeah, no, and that makes sense, and that makes a lot of sense. And it's not like, you know, he's not lucky that it went down that way, but yes, it's a completely different perspective you guys have for sure. So, what are you, as an entertainment lover, watching or reading now these days? What are you nerding out on yourself?
What am I nerding out on? Good question. I think the last thing that I super nerded out on was Breaking Bad.
Oh man, I'm in Albuquerque right now. You know that?
I think Ming was just out there. You follow any of the other guys, like the Comic Book Man and those folks?
Bummer. Sorry, Comic Book Man. You guys got, you know, canceled. Bummer. That was a fun show. So yeah, I mean, I can't keep track of all the stuff I watch right now. It's
I can imagine, because now more than ever, there's so much.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, and every time I've run into Ming and all the guys from Comic Book Man at a convention, like they've always offered interviews with me for the show, but like we're always just running around and we keep missing each other. So I've been meaning to get interviews with them. Yeah.
Yeah. No, Ming is like a podcast guru. No, but you mentioned Albuquerque. It's only because I think Ming was out there a week or so ago and I saw his posts.
Yeah,
but,
he was out last weekend, but unfortunately I couldn't. I made it to Albuquerque Comic Con, but I barely. Like I was there for 3 hours, and an hour and a half of that was me sitting and regaining my balance and energy to say bye to some quick friends and then get out of there. So,
oh boy.
Yeah. So, but yeah. Hey, you tell Ming I want him on the show. You shoot him a message. You shoot him a message and tell him you had fun, and maybe we can get him on the podcast. But yeah, man, it's it would be cool to see you in Clerks 3 just as a quick cameo, kind of like a what is up type of a thing. So you hear that, Kevin? Throw him in. We know you're still in the writing process. Give us the Chulies guy, because we're all dying of curiosity.
Well, you know, he did mention, well, more than mention, he did more or less discuss what the new storyline entails, and it's the Clerks 3 script that they read in not Red Bank, but when they read at the theater last summer, that Clerks 3 script was pretty much put on ice completely. And he claims that he's now Randall has a heart attack, survives a heart attack, and they want to make a movie, because he's always bitching about movies, Randall, and we can make a better movie.
Right.
Movie about their lives. Now they're going to make essentially Clerks. They're going to shoot Clerks.
So Randall is Kevin, basically.
I would imagine so. That's I mean,
in a small sense, yes.
Right.
Many characters are Kevin, I guess, but yeah.
When you think about the possibilities of that and how weird and and
how it mirrors real life so much.
Right, like you know, a lot of the characters could actually, could either play them, you know, either the Chulies Gum guy or Rick Darris could actually be in Clerks 3 as Rick Darris or the Chulies guy, or you could see people auditioning for those roles because they're going to show the process of making the movie. I don't know. He hasn't gone into great detail.
There's lots of directions to go. Wow, that's
right. There's a lot of opportunities to where a lot of the folks that were in the first one could pop in. But you know, I mean, I'm a fan of whatever he does, whether I get to be a part of it or not, and whether I am actually physically in the movie or not. My spirit goes with him, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you see Yoga Hosers?
No, I need to. I need to.
Yoga Hosers, in the background of that convenience store in Yoga Hosers, there was a big Chuli's gum placard.
Oh.
Like they sell Chuli's gum there.
I'll be watching for that now when I see it.
Right. And just that little Easter egg for the fans and for me is just like a big coup. It's like I kind of stay part of it without even being on the set.
Yeah. That's a definite homage and shout out to you for sure. Well, Scott, thank you very much for being on Down the Road Show. It's been an absolute pleasure. It makes me happy to see how much your health has improved over the years, for sure. And I just know, like, hey, you can have him at a con near you, meet the guy. He's amazing. I've loved every conversation I've ever had with him. And you can, get his autograph. Who doesn't want to meet the Chuli's gum guy, right?
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it very much, man.
All right, man. We'll talk soon, and we'll see you somewhere down the road.
Right. You have a great night, man.
I'm really excited to hook up with my next guest and bring him onto the show. How are you doing today, Bryan? Why did I say hook up?
I have no idea, but Casey, I guess, quarantine is making people crazy no matter what. Any living, breathing, talking person, like, yes, I'll totally do.
Absolutely. And let's just say I didn't have it all together before quarantine as it is. How are you handling your quarantine life?
So far, so good. I mean, I live about 2 hours northwest of New York City, so I got a 2-hour jump start on zombie apocalypse coming up the river here. So far I'm good. I mean, I kind of saw this coming. I was in Richmond, Virginia, at GalaxyCon towards the ending of February, beginning of March, and seeing what was going on and knowing the lack of actual competent leadership there's going on here, is that I was just like, well, I better start stocking up now. So I did. I went to a wholesale club and bought a whole bunch of stuff in bulk and made sure we had plenty of pet food ordered for our pets and stuff like that. So me and Diane are doing well. Thank you for asking.
Good. Yeah, saw the writing on the wall, smart man, doing all that. Being here in New Mexico, we didn't get hit that hard. We were one of the last states, so I'm feeling very fortunate to have just barely moved here last year. So, yeah.
Don't worry. The sun is going to totally eradicate it. You'll be fine. Going to get UV rays. Literally said this today. Can we shoot UV rays into people and give them injections of disinfectant? That's our leader.
Okay. By the way, that's a really good impression.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that was really good. I was dying over here. Okay, I saw that going off on Facebook, and I've been podcasting so much, I've kind of been skipping his daily crap. So it's been nice.
I just get the highlights, or in this case, the dumb lights. I get the dumb lights a lot, and then I just goof on it, like never ending. But I mean, people die. You can goof on it, but people are dying for it,
Yes. And obviously that's not going to be a subject of your, a continuous all the time subject of your new podcast.
No.
And speaking of which, come on. Okay, every celebrity on the planet has started a podcast because of quarantine, but you got the ultimate best name of any podcast out there that you started for yourself. Oh, Hollerant? Come on, that's so good.
I can't take full credit. It was a discussion between me and Kevin a couple of years ago. And so just throwing a T on the back of my last name was just a natural. So the O'Hollerant is my way of getting into the focus of this. I've been working on it for about 4 years. I have like about 10 shows that are just podcasts that are recorded that never made it to air anywhere. So I'm going to call those the classics, classic episodes. And eventually I'll play them and, commentary on my podcasts as well. So we'll see.
Oh, cool. That'll be a lot of fun to watch. And everybody can catch you doing this live on both your Facebook and your YouTube, which is really cool for those longtime fans out there.
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, I had Marilyn Ghigliotti was my first streaming cast guest. I may have been her 37th, but she was my first on the podcast and streamcast. So I'm talking to other friends now who want to come on board and other guests that I want to bring on in and have just other, just discussions in general of various topics. It doesn't have to be pop culture. It doesn't have to be politics. It doesn't have to be anything. It could be anything, music, whatever you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Just have a good conversation. So skipping the View Askew and Kevin and Clerks and all that, as much as I love, I I gotta shout out Scott. Thank you so much, Scott, for turning me on to Vulgar. I want to talk to you about Vulgar real quick.
Oh, right on, man. Vulgar is definitely a dark and twisted tale. Not everybody can handle it. It's a movie about a young man who's a party clown for kids who is not making enough money, so he decides to become a party clown for adults. And his first gig goes horribly, horribly wrong. And so
Horribly.
it's got myself. It's written, directed, and co-stars Bryan Johnson. If you know the Comic Book Men show, he's the bearded guy. I would say bigger bearded guy, but he's dropped quite a few pounds himself. But yeah, he wrote this really dark and twisted kind of tale about this guy, and it was based on Kevin's kind of logo that he had for the View Askew universe and his production, the View Askew Productions. If you remember the original animated beginning of Clerks, for the title sequence where this clown comes in, goes behind a dressing screen as this young kid is playing with a ball back and forth, and then comes out in this bustier and stockings in this weird makeup. And so it was a conversation that was had between Bryan Johnson and Kevin Smith. Like, what do you think that guy's story would be? And Kevin says, I don't know, why don't you write it? And so Johnson, good for him, did. And it was really twisted and messed up. And it was something that I was just like, whoa. And I remember him handing me the script, not knowing what really it was about. And him saying like, hey, I thought of you when I wrote this. I was like, okay. And I got it home and I read it halfway through. There's some disturbing scenes for those who haven't seen it, where I was just like, what the fuck, man? You said you were thinking of me when you wrote this? That's messed up.
Right. Yeah. And a very valid point, because it is dark. And I'm just going to go there and say this. This is the Joaquin Joker before they ever thought of making the Joker with Joaquin Phoenix.
You know what? A lot of people started reaching out to me when that trailer hit and said, man, this totally reminds me of that movie you did, Vulgar. And as I watched, I was like, wow, I can see the becoming of where Will Carlson, who's the name of the character in the movie I play, could have turned. He could have gone that route and been a maniacal kind of evil genius that is twisted like that. And I enjoyed the Joker, by the way. I thought Joker was a really great movie. But yeah, it had very there's so much things that I could be like, oh, that's very similar.
Yeah, and but I think how important is it for films like The Joker and Vulgar, with really portraying real life and how fragile our mental health can be, is to give to society?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it definitely shines a light on the fact that social services and systems like that, and keeping people with mental issues who need the help desperately, are ignored and thrown away and thrown to the wayside. And it winds up that the correctional facilities are the ones where they wind up, and these poor correction officers are the ones dealing with them and or abusing them in some cases. So it's not an easy task to solve, but I'm glad it's definitely been put out there in a film that won awards, actually.
Mm-hmm. And for the role of Vulgar, like, anything you dug deep personal to bring out your own darkness? I mean, we all got a little bit of experience in life with darkness.
Yeah, there was I went back in my research of growing up as a kid, and just I lived in the Bronx in the 70s, and there was quite a few things I've witnessed even when I lived there that I use as a dark kind of where I would go kind of thing. And plus I also talked to victims of abuse, male victims of abuse. And it's a much darker story, because you know, society thinks it doesn't happen, and it's
not talked about.
It's not talked about. It's more shame involved. There's, you know, a lot more cases of that unreported. And so it's something like that when you look at it, and even though, yes, women are sexually assaulted and abused and stuff like that every single minute around the world, it's never talked about with men. And so when I heard these stories from these people and read up on the subjects and saw different articles on it, it just can't help but dig into a dark place. And, you know, and I'm in clown makeup during this. So I'm sitting in the makeup chair, and that was a scene, that scene especially was shot over a 2-day period. So, you know, I'd be in the makeup chair for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. And then the next day I was in the chair for longer, because we had to match the abused makeup. So to match that was a lot tougher than just putting on straight clown makeup. And so sitting in that chair, I would just sit there getting into my space in my head for this, and just tears are running down my face. And the makeup artist's like, oh, I'm so sorry, honey. Did I get something in your eye? I'm like, no, you're fine. Just keep going. And so, you know, it was I'm very proud of it. It's not for everybody. It's a film that when it came out, Bryan Johnson and Kevin Smith went to Howard Stern when he was still on free radio and showed him the movie. And he said in the interview, "Hey guys, I got to tell you, I had to stop this movie halfway through. Not because it was a bad movie, but because it just was too disturbing for me," which was such a huge endorsement in our book.
Yeah, that's Howard Stern doesn't just pause a movie and take a breath.
A movie so disturbing, even Howard Stern couldn't see it.
And VULGAR is available for everyone to watch on Amazon right now. That's where I went and watched it.
Correct. I mean, it's the rated R version, I believe, on there. I don't think it's the unrated version, but the theatrical version is the version there. There's just a few things that are kind of trimmed away from the assault scene.
Right, which, you know, that happens. So let's move on to everybody's favorite beginning, Dante. You get yelled the same stuff at every con because I'm not supposed to be here today. My friend even made a post because I bumped him for you and pushed him up 3 hours today. So he even quoted that. He's like, he's not even supposed to be on your show today. So the Clerks fandom and Kevin Smith fan base, like, how much fun are they?
You know, I've been very blessed that, you know, this is a film that's been around since 1994, and we're still talking about it today. And I've also been blessed by the fact that Kevin is so prolific in his writing and his love for these characters that I enjoy it when I get to play them, and I'm anxious to see where he takes these characters again and again. So,
well, he's a wordsmith.
Yeah, he is. He's a storyteller, obviously. I mean, if anybody has ever been to one of his evenings with or Q&As, I mean, one question will last an hour and a half at some times. So it's the type of thing that I think fans enjoy, and he enjoys engaging fans like that. You're definitely getting your money's worth. If you're paying him by the word, you're probably getting 400 words a penny, usually.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And he's never really let go of his kind of indie roots, even with a budget.
No, he's definitely, to this day, he's always looking to budget things very, very economically, to my dismay personally. But that's all right. That's okay.
And it shows. In a fan service way is what I mean, especially after I just got done watching, you know, the new James Silent Bob.
Yes, we had a blast, you know, doing the new Jay and Silent Bob, which is also out on Amazon and iTunes and a bunch of other on-demand outlets as well. Going down to New Orleans and being able to be part of the new Jay and Silent Bob was a lot of fun. Obviously, for those who haven't seen it, Dante is in it. Plus, there's some other characters in it as well. But I got to play a few roles that people don't realize they're in it until you go back and see it again and again and again. But it's the type of thing that I think is a love letter to the fans. And so being a couple of days, if not over a week, down in New Orleans last year, around March no less. I mean, I was there for Mardi Gras and St. Patrick's Day, which is pretty much a tire fire on top of a gasoline spill.
Right, and you're right though. It's 100% fandom fan service movie, and yeah. I think that's kind of what makes it great. And being con professionals, like, I'm not gonna lie, once you got to ChronicCon, like, that was all my favorite parts right there, just the con scene stuff. Because
it was also just incredibly, cameo heavy. That's where all the cameos. It was like definitely back end loaded with a lot of cameos.
Yeah, well, but not just that, it kind of added atmosphere to the whole movie, too, with like, we don't know how we'll wrap it up, and then, he's literally saying, and this is the part where we wrap it up. He was so being Kevin Smith, and the fact that everybody did gotta kind of reprise roles, and I caught you in every single one. I did. Every time you popped up on screen, it was easy for me to spot you. But it is fan-serving, and speaking of fans and conventions, so, like, I mean, what is that doing? The con circuit is now canceled on all of us till maybe September-ish. How is that affecting you?
I mean, there are some virtual cons that are gearing up now. Me and Marilyn Ghigliotti, we're going to be on a virtual con this Saturday. It's 2 days. It's Saturday and Sunday, called Mainframe Comic Con. And so you can go to mainframecomiccon.com for the scheduling. And it's pretty much it's just going to be, panels, tons of panels. I believe they'll have some Q&A as well, where fans can type in some questions. The moderator will pick out the ones they enjoy and put it up there for us to answer. And they got people like Kevin and myself and a whole bunch of really great people involved. And it's easy in a sense that we can do it from home. As far as though, it's the other vendors as well that you worry about, people who actually go out and sell the T-shirts and sell the Funkos and sell the Legos and all the craftsmen who make the jewelry, and then the comic book artists themselves that get money for commissions to do all these books and to do these pages for attendees. And then it's the meet and greet atmosphere as well. Like, wow, I got to meet, William Shatner in person, and oh my God, I got to meet, Walter Koenig or whoever. It's that kind of meet and greet that's gonna change, I think. Even once this is done, it's going to be, if I were you, I'd invest in the hand sanitizer businesses right now, because they're going to be pumping out stuff till the next 20 years.
Yeah, well, we've all gone home with the con crud.
Yeah, no, but it's funny because in January, I had kind of like a heavy duty cold, nothing too serious. So I'm interested to see, once they get this antibody test readily available for people, to see if you had it at one time, to see if I had it, because it's notorious for everybody to get the con crud, contagion, whatever you want to call it. And that last GalaxyCon that I did the ending of February, beginning of March, when the news was getting heavier, this is, I think, when Washington State was starting to see something as well. I mean, the first case now they're saying on the news was in Santa Clara in February, the early bit of February. But, in Asia, it was getting pretty heavy at that point. Yeah. So my agency, we had five or six people at that convention. It was like me, Jeff Anderson. It was also Sean Gunn and Michael Rooker and Cooper Andrews and a few others.
That's just a fun squad right there.
Yeah. ZSC Entertainment is the people that we use for our bookings, and their squad brought in a bunch of handy wipes and hand sanitizers. They even brought a box of latex gloves. If we so wanted to, we could. We made our handlers and the volunteers wear gloves because they were handling cash. So that they wouldn't catch it, and we had a giant, every table had a giant bottle of hand sanitizer, which I then took home with me, which I do every show. Sometimes the show provides it and I'll take it home. Just, it's always good to have. So I literally have on top of my cabinet over here, like 40 tiny bottles of hand sanitizer from all these shows. I'm like, thank God I've waited for this zombie apocalypse to happen. The good thing my hoarding kind of mind kept in on this.
That's hilarious, because I just found like a rolled toilet paper, the individually rolled that you get in a motel. And right. For decades, my mom she takes them everywhere she stays. She's like, I paid for this room. I paid for this toilet paper. So it's like for 30 years, my mom's been preparing for 2020.
Right. I mean, they're the thinnest single-ply bullshit toilet paper ever sometimes. Sometimes I get to these hotels and I will use a whole roll of toilet paper just for one fucking shit.
Yep, you have to for safety purposes, yes.
Yeah.
I'm just staying in enough hotels, yeah.
It really is going to be funny if someone cosplays the Mummy, because he's just going to be nothing but bandages, and that'll be the perfect kind of thing. Or if you want to be Mars Attacks, one of the Martians with the actual spacesuit.
Well, anyone doing a mummy is going to get mugged immediately for the toilet paper around him anyway, because that stuff's priceless right now.
Or the T-Rexes. I see all the people with the blow-up costumes now thinking that that's a hazmat suit. It's hilarious.
Yeah, well, nerds are very smart, but sometimes not.
Yeah, but I mean, you definitely stay away from that person. You're like, no, you stay there, T-Rex. We're good. I see ya. No, we're good.
One of my favorite things I've done on my Chronicles channel with a few celebrities and cosplayers is like imitate or reenact weird fan moments. You got a favorite like weird fan moment? I know you probably got a ton.
I don't have like a lot of like weird fan moments. It always depends. Like, the question I get is, what is the weirdest thing I've ever signed? And that I have a story that I tell at the Q&As when that comes up, and it gets kind of weird at the end. But I was at a thing called VULGARthon, which was a film festival that Kevin would throw in Red Bank, New Jersey, where he would have a weekend of screenings of films that he made, he produced or friends of ours made, and and then there'd be like in between the screenings, it was a two screen theater or three screen theater on White Street there in Red Bank. And as a matter of fact, last year for Kevin's birthday, we had a 1-day Vulgar-thon, which personally I think we should have just said 2 days, not 1 day. It was a nightmare throwing it all into 1 day. Anyway, and so fans would come up for things to sign and take photos with and stuff like that. And some guy comes like, "Hey man, good to meet you. Nice to see you." He had like a Vulgar baseball hat on. He goes, "Hey, could you sign something for me?" I was like, "Sure." And I'm waiting for him to take out either a VHS copy of Clerks or something, or a DVD or whatever it was. And out of his bag, he pulls out this 2-foot black dildo, double-sided black dildo. And I was like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, can you sign?" I'm like, "No, I'm good." He goes, "No, come on." I'm like, "All right." So I grabbed the Sharpie, and I'm just like, no, you hold it. At a distance. This is like when social distancing didn't even exist. I was socially distancing myself. I was like, okay, and I just signed it, and then I just like threw the Sharpie in the garbage, and then we took a photo, and I'm like literally like, what's this guy doing? And that's that. So years go by. I'm working on this film in the Philadelphia area called Miss December. It's about a guy killing a woman a month for his weird twisted, and he takes photos of the corpse and everything for his weird twisted calendar. And so if you want to see that, I think it's on as well on Amazon. Anyway, so we're waiting for a setup as you normally do, filming, you're sitting waiting for the lights and everything to be set up.
Hurry up and wait.
Yeah, and I'm sitting next to one of the young producers, and he's like, "So how's it going?" I'm like, I'm doing good, Tommy." He goes, "We met before." I'm like, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah, I met you at a Vulgar-thon." I'm like, "Oh, cool. What year? 2003? No. So yeah, I had you sign something." I'm like, "Oh, really? Yeah, what's a DVD hat or something, a movie toy?" He goes, "No, remember the guy who brought the 2-foot black dildo?" I was like, "That was you?" He goes, "Yeah." Like, "I am now working for the 2-foot black dildo guy?" He goes, "Yeah." I'm like, "Holy shit." I said, "Whatever happened to that black dildo?" He goes, "I don't know. I lost it."
How do you?
And I was like, "You lost it? Who did you lose a 2-foot dildo in?" I mean, how do you?
There's a whole other story there.
So just so you know, in the world out there is a 2-foot black dildo with my name on it.
And that's hilarious because I talk about this on the podcast all the time. You never know where your next gig or job is going to come from in the con network.
Right. So thankfully he didn't have it on set. And it was never used in the film. So we're good.
It was not used as motivation.
No.
Redo that scene again.
I need to see you in my trailer.
Well, okay. Well, then we're moving forward to Clerks 3. I'm really excited. I love a good trilogy. I love wrapping up a storyline. Is there anything personally like you would love to see Dante realize in Clerks 3?
What he would realize in Clerks 3? Well,
a life lesson.
Well, here it was when we last left off. Dante had gotten Rosario Dawson's character Becky impregnated with his hideous fucking shut of a love child. So it would be many years after that, I would assume, and so there'd be a child involved, obviously, and Rosario Dawson hopefully again. So I'd like to see how he would be as a dad, being that he's always been kind of a father, or at least the responsible one to Randall. So it'd be interesting to see how he would be as around a kid. I remember in the Clerks, the original first draft of a Clerks 3 script that Kevin wrote a couple of years ago, that once we were getting into negotiations, it fell apart. It was a much darker script. But you saw how Dante was with it being a father and stuff, and it was kind of cool. So I wouldn't mind seeing how that comes out. Now, I don't have any children of my own, but it'd be interesting to see how he would write Dante as a dad. But he's given me an outline as to where this storyline is going for Clerks 3. I don't know if we'll tackle that. We'll see. I know
things change fast, yeah. In production,
he has a lot. Plus, he's had a lot of free time as of the last couple of weeks. I know he just recently, this week, if not yesterday, if not today, talked about how he just finished the new Mallrats 2 script. And I know he had talked just recently in this week on his podcast about how he's going to write in the corona pandemic into the script. So we'll see what happens.
Oh, cool. I heard a rumor about a Chasing Amy TV series.
That's news. That's news to me because I haven't heard that.
That's why it's rumors. That's why it's rumors. Okay. Because I mean, love all view askew, but like that movie has always just kind of stood out way before its time.
Yeah. And I really enjoy the friendship that I have with Joey Lauren Adams. She's really great. I'd love to see her back up there again. I mean, her cameo here in the new Jay and Silent Bob reboot was spectacular. I mean, that scene with her and Ben Affleck was just incredible. And of course, Jason Mewes' real life daughter, Logan, who plays their daughter in the movie, did a great job. She was adorable.
Oh, is that who that was? Oh, yeah, she was great. Yeah. Yeah, and I would love to see her, and I've always thought she was just like an angel on earth and would love to see her in more things anyway. So.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, well, we got ourselves a nice long podcast with all three of you on here, so I'd like to get to my favorite three questions for you to wrap this baby up.
Sure.
Who's your favorite superhero or hero?
I always enjoyed Batman only because he was a real man, a regular human who then was smart enough to devise the gadgets and the weaponry and the car and everything. So I enjoyed that aspect of it. He's somewhat of a vigilante, which is, sometimes us as the dark side of our humanity is kind of vengeful at times.
Yeah, and I think that's why so many people, Batman said the number one is because he's kind of a Rocky in a bat suit. He's always taking a beating, but finds a way out.
Right. And then I guess a close second would be Rorschach for me.
Ooh, cool. Oh, yeah. See, that's something I don't hear a lot. So every hero is only as good as the villain. Who's your favorite villain?
Ooh, that's a good one. Who's my favorite villain? There's so many great choices out there for villains, and so many different. So comic book or just any genre?
Mine's Vader. So that's why I kind of leave it at that.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say Vader, only because he was just such a smooth pimp with his evilness. Like he was just like dark cape and dark suit and all that stuff, and it was just like, man, and it was very Shogun-like. And I know that's the style that George Lucas went for when he was designing the characters, but just and getting James Earl Jones to do the voice, it was just like pimping. I just loved it.
Yeah, there could never be another voice.
Right.
I mean,
and he was he was germophobic. He had a sealed system, so he always had a mask on, and he force choked people from a distance, so he never touched it.
So Vader was coronavirus made.
So ahead of the time.
That's hilarious. Who's your real life hero? Who inspires you?
Real life hero. God, that's a tough one. The heroes are really the people who are at these hospitals and the people who are the EMTs and the people who are keeping us around still. Those are heroes. Those are people who really put their lives on the line. And then after that, it has to be our military men and women out there in various different parts of the world trying to keep our way of life safe for us and keeping the rest of the world safe at some points. So those are the real heroes, hands down. Inspiration, how they can get up and just know that they have to be there, that they got to be there, that there's something in them that drives them to go and be helpful, even at the risk of their own lives and the separation from their own families at this time. So those are the real heroes there. Artistic wise heroes, I'm a big fan of like Ricky Gervais. I think he's an amazing actor and comedian, and just also
activist.
His activism about animal rights, and also his world view of the hypocrisy of a lot of people that he can point out and just not give, like literally have no fucks to give.
Yeah.
I enjoy that.
100%. And I say this all the time because I have so many industry connections, and I'm constantly fighting with people on Facebook over this kind of stuff where they're like, celebrities shouldn't talk about politics. And look, neither should you, according to whatever you do for a job. Celebrities are humans like everybody else, which is extremely fascinating jobs.
Hey, listen, man, we would stop talking about politics if politics stopped fucking with our lives. That's all. What their decisions they make affect us. I might be someone that you see on a TV or in a movie or whatever. That doesn't mean that I'm not still getting taxed to, my money to go to something that I don't get the benefit of, or the fact that I still have to find my neighbor who can't afford something being fucked over because their policies. So, to those who are like, hey, just dribble the ball, that kind of comment that was a year ago or so.
Right.
Fuck off. Just fuck off. Because I don't need 20 dudes at the state capitol going, open up the state. This is tyranny. Meanwhile, no, this is an infection. So just because y'all fail science don't mean that we have to let things open up because you find it that you need your roots done, or you need to get your nails done, or your rims, detailed, whatever it is. Let's just calm down, take the science out of it. You know who you should be pressuring is Washington to get these bills done, and stop sending $20 million to Ruth Chris and this hedge fund and these hotels and everything else. Just give it directly to the payrolls of the people. Give it to them like they did the first check. Just go right to the people. That's it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I forget the guy's name. He's this Italian guy who has a podcast, and he's out of New York City. And he went on this a massive tirade about what the bank should do. And
Are you talking about Pissed Off Vic?
Yes, exactly.
I love that dude. I just found him recently, and he's my new favorite internet person.
Yeah, he nailed it. He just nailed it in literally in the 4 minutes, whatever the rant was.
Yeah, where he's talking about, look, 3-month furlough. Nobody in 3 months can afford that 3 months plus the month coming up. Why doesn't all the banks, everybody out there that is expecting money, take those 3 months and put them on the end of all of our leases?
Right, exactly. Like I said, if it was 16 years and 9 months left on your mortgage, it's now 16 years and 11 months on you. Whatever it is, just tack it on. Like, that's going to make a difference to you. And like you said, like, they made hundreds of billions of dollars a quarter. And like you said, like, oh, they tell us all the time you should save up for a rainy day. You mean you couldn't save up for your rainy day? We're only into week 4 or month 2 of this, and y'all can't spare your $340 billion you made this quarter. So yeah, it was a perfect rant, and if you have the link, put it in there and send people to him, because it was right on the money. As some of his offensive language I didn't agree with. His terminology is not really the best, but it was right on the money sentiment wise anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. And what you just to follow up what you just said real quick, like 20 years in the restaurant industry as a manager and a bartender and training servers and staff members. Like, when I found out about the Ruth Chris thing, I was pissed. Like, there's so many mom and pop places out there that need that money. Ruth Chris, there's no way they were paying that much for the steaks for how much they were charging.
Right. And the same thing, also the same thing with the airline industry.
Airline, gas, all of it. Yeah.
Like, yeah, dude, the airline industry is getting a break. Gas is $1.15 in places, dude. Buy all the fucking jet fuel now, put it in the tankers, and save up on it. And then when people get flying again, don't worry. You're going to be back in the air. People are going to be back up there again. But here's the thing. Okay, if we open it up now, who's going in? Are you going to be the first one in that restaurant? Are you going to be the first one down there? It's like the first person to be testing a transporter, Star Trek. Are you going to be the first one?
I don't want that job.
No, I'll be the 4,020th one that you beam back and forth, okay? And then I want to see their cellular structure and the midichlorians, if shit like that is out there, whatever it is that they got to find out about transport. Because like, oh, I wish I had the teleporter. Okay, you're first. You're first. It's a great idea on a movie, but when it comes down to the actual science, I'm check, please. I'll wait.
I 100% agree with you. And disclaimer to all the nerds that just got angry: he's a nerd. He knows the difference between Star Wars and Star Trek. He mixed those on purpose.
No, yes, exactly. The midichlorians is definitely Star Trek, Star Wars, and obviously the transport is Star Trek.
Right,
because everything in Star Wars is solved with one word: force. Everything is done with the force. And everything in Star Trek is solved by time travel.
Time loop now, yeah. Everything's a time loop now. Such an easy fix.
There's a show that is all about that. It's called Doctor Who. Leave the red matter and saving the whales and going to get Spock and everything else. Time travel. Like,
can we bring back Quantum Leap if we're going to do time travel?
Right, exactly. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, one of the best television shows ever about time. So speaking of which, this is This has been a great time for me. Thank you for coming on the podcast and being patient with me, just harassing the crap out of you on social media.
Not at all.
But yeah, look forward to catching you at a con somewhere once the con season starts back up. So, and everybody, go check him out. Follow his new podcast. There's going to be, I can't wait to see what kind of guests you got coming up in the near future. Or Holo Rant. Really good stuff. I just got done watching the first podcast and really, really enjoyed it.
Well, thank you, man. I really appreciate it. And thank you for having me on. Stay safe out there in New Mexico. And I hope, to see you in the near future, not too distant future, in person, having a drink.
Absolutely. And it'll be a pleasure to have a drink with you somewhere down the road.
Thank you, sir. Cheers.
Thanks for sticking around and having a good time on our Clerks podcast with us. Thanks to all my guests. I had such a good time talking to all three of you. Make sure you go check out VULGAR and watch it on Prime right now. I can't recommend it enough. And thank you. We'll see you all somewhere at a con down the road.